What's up, everyone? Welcome into Boxing Scene today. On the tail end of a big fight weekend here on ProBox TV. We had a fight this past Saturday, July 18th. We'll cover that in a little bit. And we're ahead of the big fight card this weekend, the return of Errol Spence fighting Tszyu. I'm Chris Algieri. I'm joined by Robert Garcia. Robert, we had a good weekend this weekend. Nice fights over in San Bernardino, California with an excellent crowd as usual.
Yeah, there was a lot of boxing here in Southern California. We had that show in San Bernardino with ProBox TV, but there was also that show in Carson, and there was a BKB card also. So yeah,
That's right, in LA.
Southern California, man, they had three good shows with nothing but action-packed fights, which was a good thing for boxing.
Yeah, and you had fighters on our card on ProBox TV. You had fighters on the Diego
Correct.
Pacheco card over on Matchroom. Chop, yeah, your boy Chop Chop did his thing, looked awesome. Got a big win, so I'm sure you're feeling good after this weekend, yeah.
Definitely, definitely. No, that's the way boxing is, man. Sometimes that's the good thing about having a good team where we have, I have my obligations with ProBox and I also do the same with my fighters where my son, my dad, Mikey were there with him, supporting him. So he felt comfortable, he felt good, and that's the way we work. That's the way it should be with a good team and the fighters believing in their coaches, believing in the team, and not necessarily having to have me there personally. But my dad was there, Mikey was there, my son controlling the corner. What else can Chop Chop ask for?
But also, you're super excited about the result too, because right after you found out that he won, you grabbed me at the car and you're like, "Oh, Chop Chop won by knockout. He looked really good." So
Well, it's because look, it was supposed to be a solid test. It was supposed to be against somebody that was going to give him good work. Matchmaker Brad Goodman told me, look, this is going to be a solid fight. You make sure he's in great shape, and because he was a little worried because he knew I wasn't going to be at the fight. He's like, "Are you sure, Robbie? You're not going to be there." I'm like, "Don't worry, we got it. Everything's going to be fine." And look, Chop Chop went out there and performed. Chop Chop is ready, man. I've been saying it. Just like I said it about Bam a few years ago. I said Chop Chop is one of the special kids, man. I said it about Raymond Murataya, and now Raymond has shown what he can do. You know what I mean. So I think Chop is the next big name. That come out of my gym. We have guys like Lindolfo Delgado who's fighting for a world title next, but I think in attention and popularity, I think Chop Chop is going to be the next one.
Yeah, I was gonna say the difference with Chop Chop is that he's actually already wildly popular.
Correct.
Like your other guys, like even like Bam, like he was awesome. We all knew that, but he had to develop into the
Yes,
star that he is now.
exactly.
Murataya, he's just so damn good. You got to see him fight.
Exactly.
But Chop Chop, man, he's already got a crowd. He's going to be a different kind of run, and he's also badass. So you got a good one there. It's going to be a lot of fun watching him make it through the ranks. But speaking of really popular, we got two popular fighters fighting this weekend. The return of Errol Spence, the big fish, is back. He's fighting over in Australia against Tszyu. Obviously, Tszyu is Australian. He is wildly popular over there. So Errol Spence returning after a 3-year layoff, coming off of that bad loss to Bud Crawford, is going right back into enemy territory, fighting Tszyu on his home turf on a very big card over on DAZN and Prime Video. I think it's a co-promotion with PBC and No Limits Boxing over in Australia. This is a big card. This is something we've been talking about. Errol Spence is one of those guys that he moves the needle. So whenever there's any kind of news surrounding him, we're going to cover it. But as of right now, in a couple of days, he's going to be back in the ring with Tszyu.
Yeah, we're all going to be tuning in because we all want to see, we would love to see the Crawford that was on top of the world, dominating. I mean, my bad, Spence. Yeah, thank you, Spence. The Spence that was dominating, that was looking sensational, that was already pound for pound one of the best in the world. What the one that everybody was questioning who's better, Crawford or Spence. We were all questioning until they fought, and we seen who the better man was. But until then, he was special, everybody. But then, a lot of personal problems, issues with, drinking. I don't know what, if anything else, but, that car accident, stuff like that, the trainer problems with switching trainers and this and that, all that kind of turned into a negative thing about him, to a point where we don't know. We don't know what he's got left. I personally believe, and I hope I'm wrong, man, because he's a great person. But I personally believe, that I've been open about it, that if he took the Team Tszyu fight after 3-year layoff and all his personal issues, maybe he's not sure what he's got left. Maybe he's not sure. And now that we hear that even the weight had to be moved a little bit higher, well, then that kind of tells me that there's been problems in camp, and maybe he's looking for a big payday and didn't want to take a chance on a tune-up fight, because obviously it's going to be for a lot less money, and he might not win that one either. So hopefully I'm wrong, man. I hope I'm wrong, because he's a great person, and he was, one of the best fighters in the world.
Yeah, and you've been adamant about saying that, and you've been sticking to your guns. And yeah, I'm with you. I do hope that we're going to see some version close to what we've seen in the past from Errol when he was the king at 147. But it's a lot to ask. 3 years later, he's got a couple car accidents. He had a really bad beating from Bud. You mentioned the weight was an issue with last week. They asked, this fight was originally a catch weight at 158. They asked it to be at 160, a full middleweight contest. A week out. But also, in his defense, our friend Paulie Malignaggi, who is over in Australia right now for Fight Week, did share with us that there were visa issues for a lot of the American fighters who were coming over, which delayed their arrival, which could 100% affect your weight cut. So I can look at that, especially a guy coming off of such a long layoff. And Errol's big. Errol's really big, even for 54. His first fight at 54, I think he's going to be a really big 54-pounder. I always said I think he'd be a better middleweight. So we're going to see him at middleweight. So in the defense of Errol and those that are backing him, there was visa issues. His trip was changed. That can certainly affect trying to peak for a big fight like this. But Errol's always said, he's like, I don't take tune-ups. Tim Tszyu ain't no tune-up. Tim Tszyu is a very tough fighter. He's a former world champion. He's been in with top flight guys. He has faltered recently. He's had a rough go. Before his last 2 wins, he took some bad losses, including a really bad knockout loss to Murtazaliev, and also got stopped by Fundora in the rematch. So, and you mentioned there's questions about Spence. There's questions about Tim too.
Yeah.
I don't know where either one of these guys are, and at what level we get, what kind of competitiveness we see. Because listen, the best version of Errol we see, I don't think Tim can do anything with that guy. But even an 80% Errol still might be good enough to beat a version of Tim that we saw. But if Errol is really degraded and Tim has had a resurgence, this could go completely the other way. It's a really, really hard fight to call.
Yeah, look, 80, I would even say a 70% of Errol, I think still good enough,
Still beats,
yeah, to beat Tim Tszyu.
I agree.
But Tim Tszyu has been a little more active. He's been active. He's had a few couple wins that have helped him. Maybe his confidence and just activity. I think that's a big difference. I would probably say Tim Tszyu is a little bit he's healthy when it comes to his training and bad clean, bad habits, stuff like that. I'm pretty sure he's very clean. To the other side, we've seen it. He's actually admitted about drinking and stuff like that. So that's the reason why I'm pretty sure it's not just me. A lot of people are thinking the same way. But at the end, I would love to see a great fight. I would love to see Spence come back, healthy and look really good, because he's a big name in the States. He's a big name. He's a big name in the world. People loved him, and he had great skills. I would love to see him do good and come back to the States and give us great fights, great big fights here in the States, because he is a very talented fighter.
Yeah, and very popular. He puts butts in seats, and our sport needs that, especially over here in the States. But I just looked up the odds real quick. Very, very close fight. So just about even, but Errol is the favorite. Even though he's coming off of a 3-year layoff and everything that we had mentioned, but you had mentioned probably even a 70%. I agree with you 100%. Even a 70% version of Errol beats Tim Tszyu, because Errol is absolutely phenomenal. It's not a knock on Tim at all. It's just how good Errol was.
Exactly.
So if that guy can show up, Vegas seems to think so as well. So very interesting fight. Now we'll talk more about that this week as we get closer. If there's any more other things that come out, because Fight Week literally just started. It's Tuesday here over in the States, but it's Wednesday there. Their Fight Week started yesterday, which is our Tuesday.
Are they going to do the fight at a certain time so we could be able, or they're going to do it at their time over there? I haven't heard anything there.
That's a great question, Coach. I don't know that. We'll have that for a later show during the week, so people can certainly tune in. We're hoping to get our friend Paulie Malignaggi, who is over there in Australia, on the show this week. So we got boots on the ground over there. We can tell us about what all the going ons over there, and I'm sure we'll have the time sorted out by then. But there's a lot of fights that have come and gone and are coming. But let's talk about one you mentioned the other day. Diego Pacheco goes out there. He fights Emmanuel Alim, who had just fought Lester Martinez in a 12-round war. It was a really tough fight. Alim came in fantastic shape. He pushed Lester Martinez in ways that maybe weren't expected. For those who didn't know who Alim was, but Alim is a very good fighter. He's he's quality, good skills, durable as hell, strong, good puncher, dangerous guy. Came in fantastic shape and pushed Lester for 12 rounds. On the scorecard, it was dominant. Lester dominated the fight. He won just about every round, but he had to work for every round. And Diego Pacheco fought Alim, and he said it flat out. He goes, I got to beat him better than Lester in order to make a statement. And he certainly did. He scored an 11th round knockout. He looked very, very dominant throughout. On the scorecards, he won every round and got the stoppage in the 11th round. He dropped him once and finished him. Very, very impressive for Diego Pacheco, a guy who needed that kind of performance because lately he hasn't looked as good as we all have seen him and thought that he would be.
Exactly. Diego needed that win to look impressive because he didn't look too good in his last fight. He even got dropped, and personal problems, new trainer, going back and forth with stuff like that, and a lot of negative things also on some interviews where he talked a little bit bad about Mexican fighters and stuff like that. So a lot of things were negative against on his side. So I think this statement was really, really needed, especially after Alim had already fought Lester, a very close fight, not a close fight, but a very good fight, solid fight.
Competitive fight.
Exactly.
Not close though.
No, not close. It was very, very, very competitive. And he, Pacheco came and did what he had to do. He made a statement. He has a new trainer, new coach. Happy for his performance. He's in line for the big fights too. There's a lot of big fights. He went out calling Munguía, but like I said about Lester, he doesn't just have to wait for Canelo. There's so many other big fights at the super middleweight, and same thing for Pacheco. He called out Munguía, but man, there's huge fights. There's right now the 168 pounders. There's a lot of big names, big fights out there for them.
Yeah, you mentioned the new coach as Buddy McGirt, good friend of mine and a friend of all of us, a very excellent coach. And you had mentioned that you thought that was a good match. I did too. I saw that as well because Buddy's a very good boxer puncher coach. If you got some power and you got some good boxing skills, he can do a lot with you. And our friend again, Paulie Malignaggi, had said that but he doesn't have guys fight at length, and Pacheco's really tall, but Pacheco's not really a length fighter, so he is in the pocket boxer puncher. So I think that marriage is actually going to do really well. But also just getting a change. You said he had some personal issues, family issues that were kind of affecting him outside of the ring. That seems to be sorted. But I like this marriage with Buddy McGirt, and like you said, he calls out Jaime Munguía. You were very adamant about Lester Martinez and Jaime Munguía makes a lot of sense. It seems like Pacheco stepping right into that position to try and get that fight. Because listen, either one of those guys, that's a money fight. Jaime Munguía is an extremely popular, well-known former multi-time champion. He brings Mexico behind him. I think anyone who can get that fight, as long as you win, because Jaime is a very good fighter, that's a huge step. And I like how Pacheco gets on the mic and grabs the reins right away, because we saw that as a fight for Lester down the road. That would make a lot of sense if he cannot get the Mbili or Canelo fight.
Look, they both know, both Lester and Pacheco know that obviously Munguía is the champion from Tijuana, who obviously going to bring a lot of attention to a fight here in the States. With here in Southern California, especially Pacheco here in Southern California, it would be a huge fight. Even in Vegas with Lester, man, it would be a soccer stadium fight, because that's how big it would be. So I guess right now at this point is promoters, money, who gets it first. I know Munguía is also looking for the biggest fights out there. Right now in boxing, we know the welterweight division, the super middleweights, the heavyweights, they're out there. looking for the biggest fights out there, the biggest paydays. We're not getting to see the the champions defending against their mandatories because maybe the number one doesn't bring any attention. These guys, are looking for the biggest paydays, and these are big fights right there. Those are fights that could actually happen. Lester is a big name already. Pacheco, a big name already. So yes, Munguía could bring in, a lot of interest and defending his title against either one of those guys because it is a big fight. The other big fights would be if Munguía unifies, but that's also kind of, it could be a little bit dangerous. This Cuban guy, what's his name?
What's his name? Yeah, he's
dangerous, man. He's dangerous.
Super dangerous.
Exactly.
Super dangerous. Tall, Iglesias.
Iglesias.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So look, those are fights that could that Munguía could also look into because yes, a Pacheco fight or a Lester would be a big fight for him, a huge payday for him. So why not? I think those fights are very close to happening.
Let's not forget about Hamza Shiraz.
Shiraz, he's probably the most dangerous one there. I think he's probably the most dangerous, and that one they'll probably avoid because it's not going to be easy, man. Shiraz is probably the most dangerous one.
Yeah, 68 is interesting because you got Canelo, right? He's the money grab. He's also obviously a fantastic fighter. Like I still think Canelo has a lot left to do and can beat a lot of these younger guys. But he's the money bag. That's the guy you want to fight. He's a legend. He's the money train. You're gonna get paid the most. He's an older guy, so he might not even be the most difficult fight in the division. And they got Shiraz. Shiraz might be the final boss of 168 because of what you mentioned. He's so dangerous. He's tall, he's long, and he can really punch. Very, very dangerous guy, and he's got a lot of momentum. 168 is hot, man. And Billy, super fun fighter, brings it every time. Munguía, very similar, very, very fun fighter. Good boxing skills, very, very popular. Even like a Resendiz who got that big win over Caleb Plant.
I was going to bring up Resendiz. I was going to bring up Resendiz right now.
Very, very fun, capable guy.
For any of these guys, Pacheco or Lester, Resendiz would be perfect also. If they can't get that world title fight, I think Resendiz is there to fight any of those two. And I'm pretty sure he will.
Might beat some of these guys.
Resendiz is good. He could fight. He's got power and he's got heart and he's got that style that's going to make it difficult for anybody.
Yeah, and one of the hottest divisions in the world right now, 168. And it's nice when you have a guy like Canelo who's in there, who's a legend, and there's money. So I know that everyone's looking for that take, but there's a lot of good fights that can happen. I do think these guys are young enough and mean enough that we'd actually make these fights happen, and it's going to happen.
One thing is that all these guys at that division don't just have to be. They're not. They don't have to be waiting just for that Canelo fight. Other divisions, like if you go to 122 right now.
Yeah,
the only one you talk about is Inoue. That's it. Yeah. Nobody else. There's no other fight that you say, oh, we could also get this guy.
You can't even name the other guys.
No, exactly. Exactly. We've said it before. I've said it before. Yep. We can't even name who the other guys are. But at 168, man, they don't have to just be chasing or waiting for Canelo to call them. No, they could fight each other. There's so many fights that could go between each other that are going to be huge, man.
Yeah, speaking of one of those guys at 168 who could be there and is huge is Edgar Berlanga. He's another guy that we left out of the mix.
Who's fighting this weekend?
He's fighting this weekend, July 26th, over in Madison Square Garden. Edgar is obviously he's Puerto Rican. Puerto Ricans fans always come out in New York City. They're pushing him over at MSG, which is a huge opportunity. This is his first fight with Zuffa when he signed a couple months back, making a big move over there, getting that bag and coming back against Stephen Bang Bang Butler, the Canadian. Guy's got a good record. He's been around. He's faltered at the highest level. But there's questions about where Edgar is at this stage of his career. Is he up at that highest level? Has he degraded a little bit since the Hamza destruction? We're gonna find out this weekend. It's a solid card. We're also gonna see what kind of ticket mover Edgar is at this point. He just had a big a music video come out. He's been rapping. It's a very popular song. Again, I mentioned the Puerto Rican support in New York is always legendary. But does Edgar Berlanga move the needle? Does he get people to come out at MSG in the middle of summer when New York City has been red hot this year? We got the Knicks. We had FIFA World Cup. The last couple months. Is there any fatigue in buyers for sporting events? It's gonna be a big question. We're gonna answer, and we're gonna see that.
I think what's gonna help is that they also have Hitchens on that card, and he's local.
Brooklyn kid.
Yes, exactly. So I think that'll help. I do, I'm actually going to be there. I have one of my younger fighters fighting on that card. So I want to see the crowd show up because both fighters deserve it. Berlanga's, no matter what negative stuff you could say about him, he's always open to say whatever the way he feels. And Hitchens, with what happened with Duarte, I want to see how he reacts, and especially I want to see if he tells me anything, wants to talk to me about what happened, because it was a little disappointing. But look, at the end, I think both are big names in New York, and I think the crowd will show up.
Yeah, I trained with both those guys over in Brooklyn when I was making one of my comebacks back in the day. I sparred with Richards and Hitchens quite a bit. Never sparred Edgar; he's a little too big, but spent a lot of time training with him. Both great guys, both popular guys. Richards and Hitchens, former world champion at 140, has moved up to 147, relinquished his IBF title. You mentioned the Duarte fight, which fell out literally hours before the fight was supposed to happen, and then the Zuffa deal fell into his lap. So
Yes.
both these guys are making their return. And Richard Hitchens fighting Jorge Salas, the guy who's fought on our card before, who's tough, man. It's not an easy fight. A guy who's had some really good wins on our air. So that'll be interesting to see how Richard Hitchens can deal with someone like that. Otto Wallin is another guy who's returning. He's a New York staple. Trains I think the New York, New Jersey area. He was a southpaw heavyweight, very, very good fighter. So I'm curious to hear what you say about the crowd that's out that night to see what's going on in New York City. See if that fatigue is real, because I know a lot of people have been worried about that because there's been so many events in New York City lately. It's been tough to get out of the house, so to speak. But we had a big fight this past weekend. I mean, a lot of people came out. San Bernardino, the fans over in San Bernardino always come out. I love going out there. We go out there multiple times a year. I remember the first time I went out there, Robert, you were like, yeah, San Bernardino is it's known for boxing and tough guys. And I was like,
Tough
okay,
guys,
well,
yeah.
tough guys, a lot of tough guys. But I don't know, we kind of made it our second home over there because we're out there so much. The fans always come out, and we had a good fight weekend, fight card last week. Really long card. Robert and I were sitting for about 6 hours calling the fight straight through. It was really hot, but it was a lot of fun fights. Brian Flores beat Jonathan Navarro by unanimous decision, 98-92 twice, and 97-93 in a super lightweight main event. But it was a tough fight. It was a clean, fight that both guys had their moments. Navarro looked really sharp at times. He made it a boxing match, which allowed him to set the tone at times. But Flores, just such a physical guy, the second half of the fight really stepped on the gas. But all in all, it was an interesting contest, one that I don't think either one of us expected it to go that way.
No, honestly, I said it before. I said I think this fight ends by knockout because both fighters have power. Both fighters are going to go out there to fight. Flores, we've seen Flores before. He's actually fought Lindolfo Delgado, one of my fighters, and was in a tremendous fight with Lindolfo. So I really believe the fight would end by knockout either way, because I know Jonathan also trained very hard, and he was uh, uh, swinging hard. He was in great shape.
He was training out of your gym, right? He was getting sparring with your guys.
Yeah, he came to spar with my guys. Yes, yes. So I felt the fight. Whoever landed was going to hurt his opponent. But look, the first half of the fight kind of was more like a little technical fight between both of them, which was also not bad. I think Jonathan, that's where he was able to land quite a few jabs, some body shots, where maybe that's where he gets those 2 or 3 rounds that the judges probably gave him. But towards the end, I think Flores is where he realized that he had to pick it up, and was hurting and landing a lot of body shots. We've seen a lot of damage to the body, which was really good for Flores. He showed experience. He showed also that he could be patient and study his opponent and finish strong the way he did, because especially the last 3 rounds, I think he totally dominated with those body shots.
Yeah, I think Flores was trying to show us that he's got other skills rather than just being a tough guy who's big and physical. He boxed early on, and he looked sharp doing it. I'm not gonna take anything away from it.
Yeah, and
And like you said,
another thing that I could also probably question and say that's probably the reason why he started off a little slow, because Jonathan came in heavy. Remember, Jonathan came in like a pound and a half heavy. They had to work out a deal between the two camps to get the fight to go. So when you know that your opponent's a pound and a half, 2 pounds heavy, and he didn't go cut the weight, then that means he's
A
going
little
to be
fresher.
exactly a little fresher, a little bit stronger when Flores made weight. So yeah, so those first few rounds, maybe that was advice from his corner. Be careful. He's a little heavy. So those those are the reasons why I could also excuse that he didn't start off that fast, because he knew Jonathan came in a little heavy.
And that's a good point. And Robert, another thing that Jonathan told me himself, he said, a lot of my sparring partners, they say I'm one of the hardest punchers that they've boxed
He
with.
is.
That gets around. So maybe you're right. Maybe the coaches on that side are like, hey, this guy came in a little heavy. We know he can punch. Let's be cautious early and pick this fight up in the second half. That's exactly what Flores did. Did a great job doing that. We had a really good world title fight on the card. Our ladies, Adelaide Ruiz
Yes.
versus Ginny Fuchs. That fight was excellent. I mean, super high level stuff. Two women who really deserve to be in a world title fight. The fight was back and forth, up and down, different. It really depended on what you liked in terms of how you scored it. Was a close fight, but Adelaide Ruiz defended her title, got the win by unanimous decision. But all in all, Robert, this is one of the better fights on our card.
It was. Look, for boxing fans that don't follow women fights, I think this one is the one that catches the attention and brings that attention to, man. Maybe we got to watch a little bit more, because they came to fight, man. It was a great fight. I think the fight was close, even though it was a clear unanimous decision for Reese. It was still a close fight, a very competitive fight. I thought it was a very competitive fight. I think both of them came in great shape. They went all 10 rounds, and I think it was a great fight for women's boxing.
Yeah, they fought hard, and for a little backstory for people who may not know the history of these two ladies, Ginny had actually beaten Adelaida in
Yes.
her last fight. She had beaten her by split decision, some funky scores, but the adjustments were made by Ruiz in this fight, and she was able to get Ginny to stand in front of her and fight her and fight her kind of fight. And obviously it worked out. The judges saw that. Like you said, it was a close fight. One judge had it 96-94. One judge had it wide, 99-91.
Correct.
And I think the other was like 97-93. So 2 out of 3 of those judges saw what we saw, and there was a very, very close fight. But regardless, it was a lot of action. And then we also had the return of Charlie Suarez, who looked spectacular. He looked everything that he is, right, Coach? I mean, he's a guy that essentially
Strong.
beat Emmanuel Navarrete his last fight,
Yes.
didn't get the decision, has been kind of pushed out of the picture. 37 years old. I mean, he looked
Yes.
super
It
fit.
was.
Went out there and knocked this man out in the first round. Avila, who was
Look.
Manuel Avila's a tough guy, and he got
Yes,
rid of
tough
him
guy.
quick.
1 round. Yeah, look,
Yeah.
I had a good talk with him after the fight in the back when we were already leaving the arena, and him and his team were asking me questions about his fight with Navarrete, and I told him, look, you got to move on. You got to move on. You can't be waiting for Navarrete, because Navarrete has other plans. He's already gonna go unify against Shaki Foster, or at least that's what we've been hearing. There's a lot of talk about him unifying. So he's got no plans on fighting you. Move on. You got to go out there. And he got a little sad, a little sentimental about it, because he realized I was telling him the truth. I told him,
Yeah.
don't wait for that fight. You cannot wait for that, because that's not going to happen. He's not going to fight you. You should have been a champion. I told him, you should have been a champion, because it was a punch. The ref, the commission, they ruled it whatever, a no contest, whatever it was. But I think you should have been a champion, because you did land that punch. And I like Navarrete. He's Mexican. He's a great person. But hey, boxing is boxing, and if one punch causes a cut, and the fighter can't continue, then you win by knockout. But that's a different story. I told him, don't wait for that fight, because I don't think Navarrete has plans on fighting you. You got to move on. Go for another after another title, or just continue fighting. Stay active. He hadn't fought since the Navarrete fight.
14 months.
Exactly,
14-month
which is
layoff.
over a year. I said, no, don't do that. At your age, at 37, can't do that. You have to stay active. Fight every 5-6 months. You don't just wait for that big, huge payday. No, stay active. Because for him, I think that's the best thing he could do. He's a healthy person. He maintains himself in great shape. Why wouldn't he fight often?
Yeah, former Army veteran, super disciplined guy, was in fantastic shape for a 37-year-old. Didn't look 37 at all that night.
Oh, no.
And I think you're absolutely right, Coach. I think you're a straight shooter. You always are. And you told him something that maybe his team didn't tell him, and that's probably absolutely the right right method for him. I think he should look for that Kakache fight. That's a guy that no one really mentions. Like you said, Oshaki and Navarrete, they're on a crash course. That fight's going to happen. It's going to happen probably next. Everybody wants that fight to happen. Both guys are pushing for it. But I think a fight with going after Kakache over from Ireland is a big fight, and he's a guy who's not being mentioned. He's not a guy. He's not going to get one of those fights. So Charlie can go over there. I would love to see him be a world champion because, like you said, he deserves it. He deserves to be a world champion. He deserves to be a world champion last time. It didn't work out for him that night. But I do hope it happens, before he does retire because he's a very, very good fighter. He deserves to be a belt holder at the very least and get a big fight. So fingers crossed for Charlie. He's a great guy. Fought wonderful the other night. So hopefully we get him back soon. But it's good to see that he is back. Speaking of back, we got Fury and Joshua. Another big fight going on this weekend as well. This weekend is packed, man. We got so much boxing going on. So both guys are fighting. Tyson Fury on July 24th, and we got Joshua fighting July 25th. Fury's in Thailand, Joshua's in Saudi Arabia. Both are against, I would say, maybe nondescript opposition. It's not like the big name guys that we usually expect these guys to see. Tyson Fury versus Marius Wach, and then Anthony Joshua is fighting Christian Prenga.
But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, knowing that they're going to fight each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why I'm okay with that, because I know that after that they both fight each other, and hopefully we don't see anything that might change our mind. Hopefully Joshua comes and does what he always does, and so does Fury. So we could be excited about that fight because we know that's what's next. So I'm okay with their fights right now, just to get them busy, get them a quick win, but then they're going to fight each other, which is something that the whole world, at least myself,
as long as they win, though, Coach, as long as they win, it's the heavyweights.
Yes, it's exactly. One punch makes a big difference, man.
Yeah, Prenga's a puncher. He's a big guy. He's tall. He's long. I was a little concerned about them, picking Prenga as their guy. And Tyson Fury fighting Marius Wach. The only thing worries me about Wach. Wach's an older guy. Wach's a guy, he's been around for a very long time. He's had really big fights. The issue with Wach is he's a big guy. I don't want to see him get hurt on him. Get cuts and can make a rough. That's a concern I have. And Prenga, obviously, he's a puncher. But God willing, both these guys do what they should do because they are levels above their opposition. And then we can really start talking about their mega fight, which should be very soon. Hopefully this year. Both these guys, as long as nobody gets hurt or cut. Where I mean, you know what? I'll ask you this next week after they see them fight. Because I was going to ask you where you're seeing who's going to win the fight. We've talked about it in the past, but thoughts change as you get closer. But I think let's see them fight first.
I think after they fight, I think we could talk a little more about that because I think we're going to see a lot there when they fight this weekend.
I agree. Both guys. Tyson had a good 10-rounder a couple months back. He showed that he still got that dog in him, and I think it was good for him to get that under his belt because he's been out of the ring. And then Joshua, obviously coming off of that tragic car accident where he lost his team members and basically family members. So getting him back is good for him mentally. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot. We're going to learn a lot about these two, and depending on what that fight's going to look like down the line. I don't know if you heard about this, Coach. Paulie Malignaggi was putting himself into the mix to step in for Jamal Charlo, who was denied a visa to go over to Australia. So he was preparing to fight. I forgot the guy's name is where is it? Versus Mazadir on July 26th, just a couple days ago. I guess they were talking to him, and Paulie's like, I'll take the fight. Paulie's on the card. He's commentating on the card.
So why didn't it happen?
I don't know. I think they wanted to keep him on the mic. Okay. I don't know if the weight was in. I don't know. I haven't talked to Paulie yet, so I'm hoping that we get Paulie maybe tomorrow or this week, and we can get more of these details. But I just wanted to throw it out there to see if you heard that because
I did hear that they kind of offered him to replace Charlo, right? So yeah. Why not? If he's there and he's in shape and he's in
shape, he just fought a bare knuckle fight a couple months ago, and he's been staying in the gym.
Yeah, so I wouldn't mind, if Charlo's not coming because of visa issues, the opponent's there, the fighter's there, man, and Paulie's there. Why not, man? He's already there. It would have been fun.
Yeah, Paulie was telling us last week that he even had trouble getting his visa to go over there. A lot of the American fighters have had trouble getting into Australia. Spence had an issue. Fulton had an issue. Charlo had an issue. Paulie himself had an issue. Fulton finally did get through, so he's still fighting Liam Wilson, which I believe they've upgraded to an eliminator. So the card is saved. Charlo's out. Paulie was trying to save it, but I think keeping Paulie on the mic is probably going to make the card even better anyway. So there's that. But just an interesting caveat of our friend of the show, Paulie Malignaggi. Just, the guy still got it, man. He's still willing to jump in. But listen, so we had our last free fight on ProBox TV. From now on, all of our fights, we have our big fight August the 29th. That is going to be under the championship series of ProBox TV, exclusively on our YouTube channel. So from August the 1st, the button starts, $5 a month, the cost of a cup of coffee. You become a member for ProBox TV, and all of our fights will be exclusively streamed on our boxing YouTube channel. So August the 29th, which is our Lester Martinez fight.
Look, easy.
Yeah,
throughout the years, people have seen, what ProBox brings to the table, and a lot of young fighters that are now going to start getting that exposure here in Southern California. Najee Lopez, even Cardenas, who's from Texas and Mexican American, but he's still not a big name here in Southern California. But bringing him to Southern California, Najee, one of the best fights of the year, and very talented at 175, if I'm not mistaken. And
175.
And look, he can compete against any of the top fighters at that weight division. He needs to be known with the Mexicans, with a crowd that loves the sport here in LA, California. It's perfect. And for $5 a month, you get to see stuff like that. It's a no-brainer, man. People won't even see the difference, every month, from their bank accounts. It's just going to be that easy.
Yeah, and if guys, you like this show here, that's also included in the $5 a month for the membership. Boxing Scene today, Boxing Scene will always be available. That's a free a media channel for us, but this show in its entirety will be behind the paywall of the $5 a month. So if you like our show, that's worth the $5 right there, if you ask me. And a lot of you said the same thing, the people who are listening, but also our fights. I mean, and the level of our cards are completely different now. This is not the same old ProBox TV you're used to. We are at the championship level. Lester Martinez is defending his WBC interim super middleweight title against undefeated Pranga Planta, excuse me. So it's a very, very good card. Like you said, Najee Lopez is on there versus a very tough Juan Carrillo. I'm actually really looking forward to that fight. That's going to be a scrap.
Well, even Lester, man. Plantic is I've been watching. He's a tough man, man.
Tough.
When I first seen him right there at the press conference and him sitting next to me, you could see his body just solid, and then his breathing. He's on a mission.
His aura, his confidence was on full display.
He's gonna hurt somebody if he's got that opportunity. So he's a very dangerous man. And since then, that I've been following more stuff about him and watching some of his fights, man, that guy's tough. And Lester's in a real fight. Lester's gonna go out there and perform, but it's not gonna be an easy fight.
No, I think the entire card, everyone on that card's in a tough fight, and that's what you're going to expect here at ProBox TV. All action cards, higher level, bigger purses, better fighters, guys as they're progressing. Everyone's staying on the platform. So August 29th, you don't want to miss that. Exclusively on the ProBox TV YouTube channel. That's Saturday, August 29th. And if you're in the area, come get a ticket. I mean, it's going to be packed. People love Lester Martinez.
Yes.
People come out. So it's going to be a great night. Coach and I will be there. But that's all we got for today, guys. If you have any comments, please comment below. We will address them tomorrow with any questions that you may have. We like when you guys give feedback. So, we're ProBox TV. We listen to our fans, and we like to hear what you guys have to say. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time. Awesome spending time with you. And for you guys at home, we'll see you later this week.